on LinkedIn and Facebook and everything. Hi, all my friends on Facebook and LinkedIn and everything. I'm so happy to say that I am on board the ship Celebrity Apex in Athens, and it's fantastic. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I love cruises, right? I've been on loads of cruises before in the past, but I tell you, this one takes the cake. It's fabulous, fabulous. All the little areas that you can find. There's so much to see. We haven't seen hardly anything yet. Hello, hi. Hi, Jamie. So, yeah, Jamie, speaking of Jamie and Canada, let's talk about getting here, shall we? So, when you are flying into Athens, you don't need to take a PCR test before you get on the plane. You don't even need to take a test when you arrive in Athens. It's a very smooth arrival process, very, very easy. All you have to do is show that you are fully vaccinated. So fully vaccinated, and I've said this before, and you know this is the case, if you are fully vaccinated, if you're fully vaccinated, you are 100% able, sorry, my headphones, I've got two things going on at once at the moment. If you're fully vaccinated, you are okay to travel. It is like the Disney Fast Pass, okay? So it means that you can travel pretty much all over the place these days and be allowed to travel without quarantine and without worrying about testing on arrival. Everywhere is thinking about extra protocols. They're really taking care of you. So on board Air Canada, for example, very, very comfortable flight. Yes, you needed to keep your mask on, and it has to be a medical mask. This is really something that we're finding a lot more of now. Has to be a specific medical mask. We found this in Italy. It's the same in Greece. But as long as you have your mask handy and you have your fully vaccinated proof, which you really have to carry with you everywhere you go, even in restaurants in Europe. Like in Greece yesterday, we wanted to go into a particular restaurant and they said, "Are you fully vaccinated?" Yes. Do you have proof? Yes. Well, it took me 10 minutes to find it, but they didn't mind. They would wait and they would not let us go into the restaurant until we got our proof out, ready to go, that we were fully vaccinated. So next, let's talk about getting onto the cruise ship. Now, cruises were hit hardest in the pandemic as far as travel goes. Very, very difficult situation at the beginning. We all remember the horror stories of the cruises. Well, we don't want to drag those up anymore. However, the cruise industry really has bounced back amazingly. And honestly, the cruises, you can now get onto a cruise if you are, again, fully vaccinated. You don't need to do a PCR test before you get here if you are fully vaccinated, but you do need to do an antigen test in the health screening area before you actually get on board the ship. So you go into the health screening area and they do an antigen test, which is not down the throat, through your nose, that almost going into your brain cells. None of that. It's a very simple test, and then takes a couple of minutes, and then it takes about 30 minutes to get the results back. Once you've got the results back and you're good to go, you are welcome on board. And at the moment, there are more crew on board here than there are passengers. More crew, yeah. So it's really, really fantastic. Jamie just mentioned that it seems overwhelming keeping track. It is a little bit overwhelming, but the good thing is that they're being very informative. So let's talk flights, for example. Right there on the flight, the minute that you're trying to get onto the flight, as soon as you book a flight, should I say, you can go right onto the Air Canada website and it gives you clear instructions of what you need for the country that you're going to fly to. So then for the cruise lines, the same thing, very clear instructions, very easy to follow. And honestly, it is a very, very easy process as long as you know what you're doing. but use a travel agent, of course, because a travel agent has been following this. And although they're not in the medical field by any means, they have definitely been following this. And it's in their best interest to have as much of the information ready there for you so that you know what you have to do and how to do it and how to get on board. So it's not something that I would book without the use of a travel agent, for sure, especially not now. And I've said this as well. Travel agents have most definitely proven their worth over this pandemic, 100%. So good point, Jamie. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, because yes, travel agents do need to have your bookings, and they are ready, willing to take those bookings and to give you all the information that they can and direct you to the places that will give you all the information. So I arrived here this morning, actually. Let me show you some pictures here. I want to show you what it looked like. So we arrived into the medical testing area. This is what our ship looks like. Hopefully you can see that. There we are, Celebrity Apex. It's absolutely fabulous. Honestly, you'd love it. All these little areas, it's just beautiful. And, you know, they've thought of everything. I love the fact that, you know, they've thought of the little things. When you go into some of these spaces, hang on, I'm going to get rid of that now. When you go into the spaces, like we were leaning over the balcony to listen to the band, and they've even put sort of wide, like a leaning piece, you know, piece of wood. How would I say that, Keith? Like the banister. It wasn't just a little banister that you can lean on. It was like a wide banister that you can literally sort of put your arms on comfortably, because they're expecting people to lean over the banister and actually look at the band and listen to the band. So it's the little details, the smallest little things that they've actually thought about and then brought into the design of the ship. And I really love that. There's pools everywhere. There's loads of pools, loads of spaces. As I said, there's only 800 passengers on board at the moment. They're really limiting numbers. They really, really are limiting numbers. And the reason for that is safety protocols first and foremost. That is the biggest thing. They want to keep you safe. They want to make sure that they keep you safe 100%. And until they do that, until they are absolutely certain that the processes and procedures are working, they're going to limit those numbers, because, you know, very bad publicity so far for cruises. So now we want to get back to cruising. We want people to understand that yes, it's a great place. It's really cool. It's very easy to travel, and yeah, it's just fabulous. So until then, there are going to definitely be smaller numbers, and yeah. So okay, hopefully you can still hear me in the background. What else do I want to say? Okay, so we wandered around the ship. I am going to be coming to you a lot more and explaining a lot more about the ship and all about what's on board for you, what is available, what you can do. And I'll also experience some of the shore excursions, because shore excursions are also a little bit different. Because if you think about it, you don't want to be getting off the ship, and then when you get off the ship, you're going into an island and you don't know what the COVID numbers are and all of that. So we want to be able to make sure that we keep you safe. And so some of the rules are that you can only go off the ship on their organized excursions. So, but they're very reasonable. Like excursions, often I remember excursions with other cruise ships costing hundreds of dollars. These are costing anything from about $45, so very reasonable. And again, they will take you to beaches. They'll take you on city tours. They'll do cooking classes. You can do a wine tasting. So there's a lot available to everybody. And again, keeping you safe. There is one island that you can go and do your own thing, and I believe that's Rhodes. And but they have actually decided to pull one of the locations that we were going to, which is Cyprus. And I'm kind of sad about that because I grew up in Cyprus. I'm going to age myself now. In 1974, my dad was stationed in Cyprus, and he was in the Air Force, and the war broke out. And I remember very well being evacuated and going back to England in flip-flops and being taken around to look for warmer clothes because we were freezing cold. And I would have loved to have gone back to Cyprus, but apparently their numbers are much higher. They've really gone up. And so the cruise line is erring on the side of caution and has decided that they're going to not allow people to go into Cyprus, and we're going to Dubrovnik instead. But they're taking this day by day. Every single day, if something changes, they're ready and willing to change the itinerary, to change anything to make sure that they keep you safe, because that is the forefront, that is the most important thing. So I think that's all I've really got to tell you about being on board so far. Great experience so far. I mean, you know what? It is a bit of a rigmarole getting on. It is. But it's worth it. You know, it took us, what, an hour? Well, I know I've been on a cruise at Christmas time, and it's taken an hour and a half to check in because there were loads of people and the lineups were long. Well, there are not as many people, so therefore the lineups weren't long. It's just that we had to wait for the testing to come back, and that was what took us the time, really. So the ship, okay, the ship is brand spanking new. It was built in, well, it was released in 2020. Of course, it never sailed. It was like all dressed up, ready to party, and nobody could sail on it because no cruises were allowed. So this is actually its 7th cruise ever. And the first couple were just to trade and that sort of thing anyway. So it's only its 7th ever cruise. So it feels like getting a brand new car. You ever go to a rental car company and they give you a brand spanking new car and it smells new? Well, this is like that, only on massive scale, because it's a beautiful ship with gorgeous rooms and everything considered. Like, we've gone around Italy and around Greece, and every single day, the very first thing that Keith says to me is, where's the USB ports? Oh, no USB ports again. How are we going to charge? Oh, no, we've only got one plug over there and one plug over there. And oh, my goodness. And, you know, little things like that are actually quite important, especially when you're traveling and especially if you have technical things like we do. So you get on board here and everything's been thought of. Everything is connected. Your phone will be your room key or act as your room key. Your phone, you can book specialty restaurants. Your phone, you can book shore excursions. If you're in the retreat section, which is where I'm sitting right now, you have a personal butler, you have a personal concierge. You can come up to the retreat restaurant, which is called Luminae, which is fabulous. We had a delicious lunch today. Let me see if I can show you a picture. We had a fabulous lunch today. Oh no, I didn't have a picture, but it was just absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, so basically I would really recommend upgrading to the retreat section, and you could even do it on board actually, because on board it's there's so many rooms that they're offering good deals. So once you get on board, you know, you can come up to the concierge desk or the front desk and you can say, yeah, how much would it cost me to upgrade to a suite or something like that. What happens to passengers if they test positive? Yes. So, okay, good question. If passengers test positive, if they test positive before they get on the ship, they're going to be denied boarding. Now, bear in mind that to get on board, you have to be fully vaccinated. So the chances of you testing positive are pretty slim, okay? If you do test positive, and you are supposed to be coming on board. Unfortunately, you will not be coming on board. You will be asked to test again, and they'll give you a PCR test rather than an antigen test, just to make sure that there wasn't a false positive, because sometimes the antigen test does bring up a positive and it's not a true positive. So they will retest you just to make sure. Then you will be taken to a designated hotel where you'll have to quarantine. Now, if by chance you test positive while you're on board, then you will be isolated while you're on board, or and at the cost of the cruise line then. But unfortunately, prior, if you do happen to test positive, which again, it's unlikely, but if you do, then unfortunately you will not be allowed to board. Janice, good question. Does celebrity allow mixed vaccines? The answer to that is yes and no. So in Europe, they are accepting mixed vaccinations. However, in the States at the moment, they are not. So anything that comes out of USA, they are not accepting the mixed vaccination. So that would exclude me, because I had the AstraZeneca and then I had Pfizer. So if you did have a mixed vaccination, unfortunately, you would not be allowed to travel out of a USA cruise. So any of the ones that depart from Miami or Fort Lauderdale or anything like that, you would not be allowed to travel if you had the mixed vaccine. Also, your vaccine has to be more than 2 weeks ago. So your second dose, your final dose, has to be more than 2 weeks ago in order to be allowed to come on board. But in Europe, all bets are off. You are allowed to have the antigen, you are allowed to have the AstraZeneca vaccination coupled with the Pfizer or Moderna, or a mixture of Pfizer or Moderna, and it's okay. Is Greece open for Indians? Do you know what? I don't know that question. I would imagine it's something, I believe that Greece may be open to people from India, because I have seen a flight from there, but there would be strict testing rules. If you are not fully vaccinated, they do test you on arrival. And also, I believe they ask you to have a test before you get on the plane and prove that. So again, strict rules everywhere. Everywhere for travel is strict rules. However, as I said, it's worth it. It's worth every minute. If we can get to travel again, okay, fine. We jump through hoops. You know, we've been to Africa not that long ago, a couple of years ago, and there are rules. You have to have a certain amount of vaccinations. You have to have malaria. You know, in some places you have to have the yellow fever vaccine, and you know, all sorts of things we do. We have to have visas to go to Vietnam. We do these things in order to be able to travel. Are they a pain in the neck? Yes, they are. However, it's part of the travel. It's part of the travel process, and it means that it is something that allows us to travel. And if we don't do it, then we can't travel. So I feel that it's worth it. And for me, having the double vaccination, I feel lucky that I've had the double vaccination, because it means that I can travel at the moment, which is what I love to do. And yeah, I get to call this work, people. I mean, come on, really? I get to call this work? This is very, very cool. Let me tell you, it is cool. So yes, it's all good. Well, I don't think there's any more questions coming in. Unless anybody else has any more questions, I'm going to get my drink here and say cheers to you. And I'm going to go off and try out the Cypriot restaurant, because as I can't go to Cyprus, I'm going to go and have a meal in the Cypriot restaurant. Hello, Sam. Hi. Hi, Dahan. So, cheers. Thanks for watching. And bye for now. I will see you again in a few days' time. I'll give you an update and tell you how it's going. And we are going to be filming along the way, because We are doing a segment on it, and we'll film along the way and show you what it looks like and show you how it feels. But let me tell you, it's bloody hot. Like, it is just baking hot. So sunscreen, mind you, sunscreen wouldn't even work. I think I'm just going to combust the minute that the sun hits me. But yeah, it's very hot. It's in the 40s. So a really good time to come here. If you were thinking of coming on the Celebrity Apex, a really good time would be October, November, because it's still running, and it will be just a little bit cooler and an absolutely beautiful time to come to Europe. It's just got that edge off, but it's still warm and it's still just gorgeous. So yeah, so thank you everybody for watching, and hopefully you'll enjoy seeing my updates along the week on the Celebrity Apex. And I will be posting every day photos and the stories and showing you what it looks like. And hopefully you'll be able to come on board sometime soon. Thank you, Janice. Thank you very much. Thanks, Keith. And see you soon. Bye for now.